Ladies and gentlemen, so the last couple days we've been talking about issues regarding Islamic terrorism and the tremendous work that's being done on behalf of the United States with respect to protecting the national security interests of the United States. But today, our focus is on California. And I want to begin with a threat that the Governor Gavin Newsom, has now made possible on every Californian in the Golden State. So let's listen up to this, because if you're from a state who has a governor, a liberal progressive governor like the state of California, you want to probably prevent this sort of thing from happening in your liberal progressive state. So yesterday, Governor Newsom apparently has talked about a letter that he sent to the President of the United States, President Trump, talking about how the President of the United States needs to give the state of California more money to deal with the homeless problem. Now, for those of you that think, yes, it's so sad, the homeless problem, it is sad, but I want you to know that there are some people that are on the street that do not want help. There are individuals that I've spoken to that, they've got family out there on the street. They've tried to help them. They've offered to get them into rehab. They've offered to get them into counseling. They don't want their husband or son or daughter, family member on the street, drunk and or on drugs. So they try to help all the time, and there's no helping. So for those individuals, I would say to Governor Newsom and every other liberal progressive governor in the United States, you know what? If somebody doesn't want help and they're living on the street, they don't want to go to a rehab facility and get straightened out, put them in jail. We should not have to step over their poop. Yesterday I was going into the classroom. It looked like somebody had decided to make a great big mess right there on the sidewalk as I was trying to enter the building. I don't appreciate that. So you know what? Let's lock them up. If they don't want help, let's lock them up. And to Gavin Newsom, I want to share with you some of the things that Gavin Newsom wrote in a letter to the president. He said to President Trump that his administration needed to do more to address homelessness and housing insecurity. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I understand that the local and state government have facilities where people can be placed. Homeless shelters, they're called. Homeless shelters. And if you need to build another homeless shelter because people just don't have enough to pay their rent or their mortgage payment, I understand that. But could we make sure that they have to learn a trade? Because right now, unemployment is lower than it's been in decades. So could we, if we agree to give them or their family a place to live, a place to stay, can we also make it mandatory that they go to, say, the Regional Occupation Center? We have one right here in Bakersfield. And cities up and down the state have places where people can go and get a certificate and learn a skill. So can we at least mandate that they have to go and get a skill and get certificated so that they can go and get a better job? Because we have lots of jobs available. You can get on the internet, you can type in what jobs are available, and lists of jobs in various areas will show themselves right there for you on your computer or iPhone or Android or whatever else you may have. But bottom line, there are lots of jobs available. So, but to those people that are out there on drugs or alcohol and really maybe they'd like some help, I don't think the President of the United States needs to take it upon himself to give money to Gavin Newsom and the state of California. The taxes in California go up every year. The Democrats that control this, our entire state is controlled by Democrats who literally raise our taxes every single year. You know, you have to ask Gavin Newsom, the governor of the state of California, and the Democrats up there running the state legislature, gosh, if you didn't keep raising taxes on everything that moves, perhaps people could afford to pay their rent and buy food too. That's a possibility. But they've now, told us they've raised the tax on gasoline. They're going to do it again in 2020. They've already made that clear, right? Gas tax, water tax, taxes on our PG&E or electric bills. You name it, and it's taxed in California. And in California, we pay double. We pay double what people living in other states that are controlled by Republicans or have majority Republicans in office in their state legislature or in the executive branch of their state that are governors, lieutenant governors. Our gasoline is twice the cost. So let's think about it. If we could get the Democrats to lower taxes to the working people of California, and I mean, just maybe people could have that extra $100 to cover their rent. Anyway, I just thought it was incredible. So stop taxing Californians, okay? Governor Newsom and those Democrats that control our state, stop taxing Californians. Stop raising the taxes on Californians, number one. Number two, for people that really do want help, let's get them some help. If they really want help, let's provide, out of all those tax dollars, let's open up rehab centers where, rehab centers in the state of California where those people can be locked up, and I mean they need to be locked up. They shouldn't be able to just walk out. We put them behind locked gates, and they get some rehab. They get rehabilitated. That's for people that really want it. For people that are mentally ill, and I've spoken to people that are mentally ill, they're on the sidewalks of my city. You can talk to them and ask them a question. I was talking, just to give you an example, I was talking to one woman on the street, and I asked her a question. And she said to me, I work down the street, she said. Now she's pushing a grocery cart, and she's got all kinds of stuff she's picked up from I don't know where. Maybe it's stolen, who knows. But it's in her grocery cart. And by the way, when my car was broken into and I asked the police if they'd go look in some of the grocery carts in the area where I thought maybe the things from my vehicle were probably located, in those grocery carts, they wouldn't look at it because the police told me, you know what? That's their personal property. I said, how do you know that's their personal property? Maybe it's my property. Go check it out. No, that's what the Bakersfield Police Department told me. No, we're not going to go check out those grocery carts in and around where your vehicle has been parked. We're not going to do that because that's probably their personal property. Yeah, because they stole it from me. Anyway, that was incredible. That's another story. But getting back to what I was saying, so I was having a conversation with this woman. It was a woman, and I was looking for my things, and I was looking in her grocery cart, and I asked her about it. She says, well, I'm working at that department store down the street. And I'm thinking, we don't have a department store down the street. And she says, and people there can help you find whatever you are looking for. And I said, thank you so much. I mean, and I noticed that, she was really seemed like a lovely person. I mean, a lovely person that didn't seem to understand or know where she was or what she was talking about, or that somebody was concerned and maybe looking for their things in her grocery cart. I mean, she was oblivious to it all. And just telling me what store I could go to so I could buy whatever it is I needed. So again, I just thanked her. The point that I'm making is some people really want help, and we need to get them the help. because maybe they don't have family. Maybe they're foster care youth. Maybe they've been kicked out by their parents. Maybe their parents are pretty worthless. Who knows? We don't know. But if somebody really wants help, let's get it to. Let's have some rehabilitation centers. And I don't think that Governor Newsom needs to demand from President Trump the money for those things because of the high taxes already in this state. But for people that don't want help, where their families, their mothers, I know of a particular family I'm thinking of right now. And that mother and father has done everything for their son his whole life to try to get him to live a life that doesn't involve drugs or alcohol. And it's been impossible to secure his cooperation. People have to want help. And if they do, let's get them behind a locked gate and doors and get them the rehabilitation they need. If they're mentally ill, let's open up some rehabilitation facilities to help the mentally ill. So maybe they will not continue to be mentally ill. But I want to say to people that really don't want help, and we can find out pretty easily who those people are because many of those people have families that try to help them, and they're out there making a mess on the street. Those people ought to be thrown in jail because we shouldn't have to step over their poop or deal with them running up to us in a parking lot or walking up to us in a parking lot when it's 9 o'clock at night and we've got to stop at that grocery store because we've got to get that carton of milk. And, we just shouldn't have to worry about it. I don't know about you ladies. I'm talking to the ladies now for a moment. But I don't know about you, but I just don't want to go anywhere at night anymore. And that's ridiculous. I should feel perfectly free to go anywhere at night. But it's like if I have to go anywhere at night alone, like to a grocery store or a gas station, I just don't want to. Unless I really have a sense that there's enough light and enough people watching and what's going on. And even then, I've seen cases and heard cases on the news where people are around and there's lights and they're watching. They don't do anything to help. That's just like they don't want to have anything to do with helping. They're going to just mind their own business and let you get beat up. So anyway, I just was shocked that Gavin Newsom, whose administration, and I'm thinking of Javier Becerra, the Attorney General of the state of California, a Democrat, I think about the over, 40 times they've sued President Trump and his administration, and yet he had the guts. It's more than guts. It's incredible to me that the governor of the state of California issued a letter and then a public statement. The letter was issued on Monday. The public statement was made yesterday, Tuesday. And it's really incredible to me that for the liberal Democrats in the state of California that have sued this president and his team multiple times are now demanding that the president solve California's homeless problem and the homeless problem of states across the nation. That's not the president's job. If our board of supervisors and our city manager and the city representatives, if those people that are part of the city council and the board of supervisors right here in our area and up and down the state, if they can't figure out to put people in jail that refuse to cooperate with their families and get into a rehabilitation center, or to cooperate with others that would be more than happy to put up the money to get them in a rehab facility or in a mental hospital. This is what we need. We don't need to just build a bunch of homeless centers. And I wish you'd tell that to our current mayor in the city of Bakersfield. In the state of California, we don't need to build homeless shelters up and down the state. That says welcome homeless. If we start building homeless shelters here in Kern County and up and down the state, that'll just say welcome homeless. And I'll tell you, to the families that are really poor, that just need a hand up and just need a homeless shelter for a temporary period of time, they're not going to use that homeless shelter. Not if you have people that stink to high heaven and are high on drugs or alcohol. You think families are going to bring their children into a homeless shelter where they could get raped or beaten up or killed in a homeless shelter at night? Of course they're not. Of course they're not. The homeless shelters need to be for people that are the very, very poor, that somehow along life's journey they didn't get the proper education, or maybe they did and they've just had one bad thing happen after another, and they just need some help to get back to work and to get on their feet, and they need a homeless shelter. I can understand that at that time, but again, it has to be mandatory that they're looking full-time for a job and they're working to get back on their feet, and maybe taking that trade class, that vocational ed class, to get that certification so they can get hired. But we've got to open up some hospitals, some private hospitals, privately run hospitals, to help the mentally ill and to keep them safe and off the street. And I'm thinking of that dear homeless lady that I spoke to, that I thought, wow, she seems like a lovely person, but she's just off in, I don't know what world she's in, but she's in another world. Okay? And I thought it was interesting. Shannon Grove, our Republican Senate leader from our area here in Kern County, she said California is home to 12% of the nation's population, and yet, she says, we have 25% of the nation's homeless. California makes up 12% of the nation's population, but we've got 25% of the homeless population. What does that say? Might taxes be too high? Might people that are deliberately out there taking drugs, using drugs, some drugs are illegal, and getting drunk and defecating on the street and exposing themselves, that's a crime. That's a crime, because every time they do that, they're having to expose themselves, and that's indecent exposure. That's a crime. They should be put in jail. Maybe they dry out. Senator Shannon Grove says homeless are 25% of our state's population, and she says this is a manufactured crisis created in this state by one-party rule. Shannon Grove is exactly right about that. And she says, I've continually called on Democratic leadership in the state to work with the federal government and local municipalities to solve the crisis. And she made the point, too, that suing Trump is probably not the best way to deal with the homeless crisis. So let's get people that are mentally ill in hospitals, and let's use the taxes that we've already paid Gavin Newsom, Democrats that control the Senate. Let's already use the taxes that have been collected by the hardworking American people in this state to maybe open up a few mental hospitals, privately owned and operated, with very, very strict regulations and guidelines that protect those patients so they're not abused and submitted to electric shocks and all kinds of horrors that we've heard about over the years. But they're treated with love and compassion, and they're treated humanely. And let's get people that need rehabilitation getting rehabilitation. And let's get people that couldn't care less to do anything to straighten up their life, and they want to make a mess out there on the street and expose themselves and everything else. Let's get those people locked up. One other thing I want to share about, we'll save it after break. Let's go to a break. You're not going to believe how Gavin Newsom, as of September 14th, has now provided clemency to murderers and is releasing them. These are murderers that used a firearm. What do we hear from the Democrats? They're so concerned about gun violence. Are you joking, Gavin Newsom? We'll save it after break. We'll be right back after this break.
President Trump has made security as national security, and in the Tehachapi Mountains of Kern County resides a United States defense contractor, Denice Products. Here is the Silicon Valley of the aerospace industry, right here in East Kern. Denice Products is a forward-leaning manufacturer and distributor of hardware sold to major defense and aerospace companies. We're talking about Boeing, Lockheed Martin, United Technologies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon General Electric, and on the list goes, as well as to every United States ally worldwide, including Israel, America's most important strategic ally in the Middle East. And for everything that flies, Denice Products is providing the parts. And with me today is the president of Denice Products, Scott Baker. Hi, Scott.
How you doing?
Scott, tell us why you believe this corner of Kern County is the hub of the aerospace industry.
Well, this portion of Southern California here out in the Antelope Valley, it contains, some of the most cutting edge technology going on in aviation today. We have some of the UCAS programs with unmanned technologies going on. We have Edwards Air Force Base out here who's doing continual testing in their area. We have the Naval Weapons Station up there at China Lake doing some fantastic cutting edge stuff, cruise missile technology, and those things are going on. We have Scale Composites locally doing a lot of composite technology, which is new. We have SpaceX, which is a private one, putting a private entity putting things into space now. This area is the growth center for aviation's future, and this is the area I think that as a nation we need to be concentrating some of our effort and taking this technology. And as we all know, with the space program from Apollo years ago, out of these technologies, we the private sector are going to reap some of the benefits of that.
Thank you, Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Baker, president of Denice Products. Denice Products, located in the beautiful mountains of Tehachapi, California, in eastern Kern County, is home to some of the most innovative and specialized technologies in the world, including those at the U.S. Naval Air Warfare Center, Weapons Division at China Lake, Edwards Air Force Base, as well as Strata Launch, launching satellites capable of delivering multiple orbits in a single flight to space. And it is Denice Products that has provided the manufactured devices, and the president, Scott Baker of Denice Products, Marine Corps veteran, reactivated on 9/11 to monitor threats to the homeland, is carrying on a tradition of providing for the security of the United States by manufacturing every kind of fastener on anything that flies, as well as providing a full testing destructive laboratory. Contact Denice Products, now in business for 30 years, at 661-822-6873. Located at 1314 Goodrich Drive in Tehachapi for your manufacturing and testing needs today.
Live and direct from the Golden State.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think the point of today's broadcast is I personally believe that Governor Newsom is making our state increasingly dangerous. One more thing before we go today. This report, as I started to say, came out on the 14th, and Gavin Newsom has commuted the sentences of 21 inmates who have committed felony crimes. And one of the individuals, for this is just an example, was that he's granted clemency to, is a person by the name of Ronald Mark Feldmeyer. And Feldmeyer was the pillowcase rapist. And he wrapped pillowcases around the faces of his victims. And anyway, they don't want to disclose where he's going to be released to here in California for security reasons. And my question to you is, whose security? Where is Ronald Mark Feldmeyer going? Do you know? I hope he's not coming to my community. I hope he's not coming to our city, to our county. This is the pillowcase rapist that's being released by Gavin Newsom, the governor of the state of California. Another example that was pointed out in this article, Marcus McClimpson. He was 21 when he fatally shot 2 people in Fresno, California, and he was sentenced to life in prison. Gavin Newsom has decided to grant him clemency. There are people that have committed violent crimes, and California Democrat lawmakers want to release these people on the streets of California, many of whom, or most of whom, have committed crimes with a gun. Now, next time a Democrat like Kamala Harris, who's running for president, a U.S. senator that's working there in Washington, D.C., I'm sorry to say, says that she's concerned about gun control, you shoot her a tweet back and say, no, you're not. No, you're not, because I'm going to read you a statement about what Kamala Harris considers to be a non-violent crime. And it includes guns. So listen to this. Kamala Harris, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, she used to be our Attorney General here in the state of California. She considers a quote-unquote nonviolent crime by anybody that commits rape. Anybody that commits rape while intoxicated on an unconscious victim. So if you've been drinking and you decide to rape somebody that's been passed out, that's not considered violent to Kamala Harris. She doesn't consider it a violent crime to be involved in human trafficking involving sex with minors. That's a nonviolent crime, forcing children to have sex with strangers. That's a nonviolent crime, Kamala Harris. She doesn't consider it a violent crime if arson is used to cause great bodily harm. Drive-by shootings. Now, I mean, we hear these Democrats running for president. They're all concerned about gun control. And yet, it was a nonviolent crime to Kamala Harris when she worked as the Attorney General for the state of California for people to be involved in drive-by shootings. That's a nonviolent crime to her. Assault with a deadly weapon and hostage taking. Assault with a deadly weapon, gee, that could be a gun, it could be a knife, it could be many things. But it could be a gun, assault with a deadly weapon. That's a nonviolent crime to a United States Senator, a liberal progressive from the state of California that's supposed to be representing the good people of this state. Please. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got to recall Gavin Newsom, the governor of the state of California. And, you know, you've got to share this show out to everybody you know, because people need to know that Gavin Newsom is making our state increasingly more dangerous for you and I by releasing felons who have committed murder and by literally wanting to build more homeless shelters for people that are involved in crimes that either should be locked up, put in a rehabilitation facility, or are people that are simply just needing a little bit more education and a little help and deserve to be in a homeless shelter only until such time they can be back on their feet. But criminals, lock them up. The mentally ill, let's get some mental hospitals and places for them to be where they can be loved and treated compassionately and get the help they need, or rehabilitations. Other than that, it's criminal what Gavin Newsom is trying to do, and to insist that the President of the United States somehow bail out the state of California because Gavin Newsom and liberal progressives can't do their job. That's wrong, Gavin Newsom. That's absolutely wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Denise Gary
His
Show.
number's on the screen.
Ah, his number's on the screen. My producer is 916 445 2841. Let's give that number out again. My producer said he put the number up on the screen. So for those of you that listen, via podcasts, let's have that number again. It's 916 area code 445 2841. Give Governor Gavin Newsom a call and say, what are you doing releasing felons onto the streets of California and for quote-unquote security reasons, not telling us where they're being relocated, and wanting to put out the welcome mat to homeless people who are already overrepresented in this state. Why not get those that don't want help in jail, those that do want help, the help that they desperately need? Use our tax dollars for that. And another thing, let's lower the tax rates in this state for the hardworking middle class people. Why not? Think about it. But liberal progressives, all they want is socialism and to up your taxes and destroy the middle class. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Denise Gary Show. This is Denise, signing off.